After Zuko's horrific betrayal of his uncle Iroh in the Battle of the Crystal Catacombs, where Avatar Aang took a mortal wound in the Avatar state, Iroh was captured and arrested, ready to be brought back to face his brother in the Fire Nation. What happened in the days following his arrest, however, are truly saddening, and a comic written by the original creators themselves goes deep into exactly how Iroh felt and how he was treated in the time following his betrayal by Zuko. And it also gives us a look into how Zuko was feeling too. So hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. Ba Sing Se has fallen, the Avatar is presumed dead, and the greatest general the Fire Nation had ever produced is sitting in a cell underneath the city that he once tried to conquer. And unfortunately, it was his nephew who put him there. We open underground in a corridor of iron doors and dripping stone, and behind one of these doors is Iroh. He is kneeling on the floor in his prison robes with his hands in his lap, calm in a way that somehow makes the whole scene worse, because a man that is that calm has already accepted his fate. Two Fire Nation guards are outside the cell talking, and they aren't even gloating. They're rattled. One of them can't believe that a member of the royal family, the Fire Lord's own brother, is being kept in a hole like a common criminal. The other one even says that he served under Iroh during the first siege of the city, and he calls him a great leader and a great man, and you can hear the respect in it. And that's when Zuko comes around the corner, and he tears into both of them. He tells them that they have no idea what they're talking about, and that his uncle is a traitor to his country. One of the guards starts to apologize, and he actually uses Zuko's title. He calls him Prince Zuko, and that is a very important detail here, because after 3 years of exile and disgrace, someone in a Fire Nation uniform who was legitimate and not on his crew just called him a prince again. And honestly, it's so sad to see Zuko do this. He is in such cognitive dissonance that he really does think in this moment that he made the right decision and that his uncle is a traitor to the Fire Nation. He got everything he wanted, and he responds by turning around and throwing a wall of fire down the corridor at the two men who did nothing wrong except speak kindly about the person who raised him, Uncle Iroh. We then move up above to the throne room at the heart of the Earth Kingdom capital. Azula is sitting on the Earth King's throne with her legs draped over the armrest like she's waiting for a delivery. She greets her brother with that nickname that she uses to remind him exactly how small he is, and she tells him that the arrangements are now finished. They will soon sail for the Fire Nation and they'll be gone by tomorrow night. Zuko does the math though. She's the conqueror of Ba Sing Se. She holds the largest city in the world, and she's just gonna walk away from it? Azula tells him not to worry though, because she has already found the perfect person to leave in charge. Someone who will carry out the Fire Lord's will without hesitation and without asking a single question. And then the camera pulls back to reveal Judy, standing there with a bowl of mints and that terrifying frozen smile, cheerfully announcing that the Earth Nation is humbly grateful for the opportunity to serve the great and powerful Fire Nation. This is shocking to see, but it really does make sense. Azula wanted a puppet on the throne, someone that she controlled completely. Ba Sing Se was basically hers, even though she wasn't there to rule it. So what better choice than to put a Judy clone on there, someone who will follow any order without question. And then, as they move to the stairs, Azula lays out the rest of it as they walk. The city stays safe under Judy's management, and the two of them will personally escort their uncle, the traitor, back home in chains. Zuko stops walking and tells her she doesn't need him for that. He says he'll stay here in Ba Sing Se. And then watch what Azula does next. She doesn't threaten him, she reminds him that the Avatar is dead and the war is effectively won, and that their father is going to welcome him home as a hero. She tells him that he's the Fire Prince again, and that he can have his old life back. That's the pitch that she's been making since the day she showed up, and it has never once worked, and it doesn't work now either. He shouts across the entire hall that he already told her he is not going with her. So because of this, Azula changes tactics. She storms through a set of doors and finds Ty Lee sitting at a mirror braiding her hair, and she orders her to stop what she's doing and listen right now. Azula explains that her brother is being difficult, and the way he always was, and that they're going to need some extra persuasion to get him onto the ship. Ty Lee thinks about it for a few seconds, and then Azula comes up with the answer. Everybody knows that Zuko and Mai had childhood crushes on each other, so all they have to do is get the two of them reacquainted. Ty Lee asks how they're supposed to pull that off, and Azula gives her that slow, delighted smile, and tells her just to follow her lead, because she has a plan. Later that night, we see Azula organizing the plan, and it's just as crazy as you think, with Azula directing military men like servants. They're setting up a dinner for the two of them, and then we get to the dinner itself. Mai arrives first, and she's annoyed before she even sits down, because Azula told her that Admiral Liang was visiting and wanted all of them to have dinner together. Zuko walks in and confirms that he got the exact same story, and Mai says the thing that every single person watching is already thinking, which is that Azula is up to something. They then stand there in awkward silence for a moment, and then Zuko looks at the table and reasons that the food actually doesn't look too bad, and that it would be a shame to waste it. So the two sit down, and for a little while it's almost sweet. Mai picks at her plate and decides that it nearly passes passes for Fire Nation cooking if you ignore how badly underseasoned it is, and then a musician wanders over and starts playing, and Zuko snaps at him to stop because it's giving him a headache, and the poor man apologizes and admits that he's just out of practice. He shuffles off past the hedges, and then that's when we hear the giggling. Zuko already knows who it is, and he calls out his sister by name and asks whether she has anything more important to be doing. After getting caught hiding in the bushes, Zuko has had enough, and he tells Mai that they should just get out of there, and she agrees immediately, and the two of them walk off into the city together on a bit of a date through the market stalls of Ba Sing Se. In fact, this is in the lower ring where all of the lower class and refugee people are settled. The two walk past stalls of dried fish and unidentifiable seafood, and Mai is openly disgusted that human beings eat any of this. Zuko tells her that it isn't so bad once you get used to it, which is a very important line for his character, because it means he did get used to it. He was integrating into Ba Sing Se. And then someone calls out the name that he was using when he lived there. This girl calls out the name Lee. It's Jin, the girl who took him out on a date when he was working in his uncle's tea shop, and she is thrilled to see him. Mai, standing right there, asks who this is. Zuko panics and introduces Mai as an old friend of his, someone he knows from the circus. Mai, without missing a beat and without a flicker of expression, informs Jin that she's the knife thrower, and this angers Mai horrifically. And because of this, she's going to give Zuko a practical lesson in knife throwing. Just as she's about to demonstrate, Jin cheerfully says she hopes Mai is better at throwing knives than Lee is at juggling, which confirms that Zuko once tried to juggle for this girl and failed. Although we just didn't see it on screen, it was a deleted scene just like this whole comic is. Mai studies her target with her hand on her chin and says something isn't quite right yet, and then she picks up a fish from a nearby stall and throws it at his head, where it lands with a wet slap. Now she's satisfied. She explains that the whole trick is in the wrist. She flicks a blade and it splits the fish clean off his skull and pins the remains to the wall behind him. Jin is amazed at that feat, and Mai casually asks if she wants to try too. Jin does the thing where she says she couldn't possibly, and then decides that maybe she could do just one. Her throw goes wide and shatters into the ice above Zuko's head. He dives out the way, his cloak catches, and then he goes straight over the edge into the fountain. Mai looks down at him soaking wet in water and tells him now they're even. And in fact, that goes all the way back to Azula's prank on Zuko and Mai back when they were kids. A few seconds later, Zuko is chasing her across the tiled rooftops of Ba Sing Se, yelling that she's crazy and that she could have gotten him killed, and Mai is laughing at him while she runs. She throws his fake name back at him one more time. Then he asks her to stop, just for a second, and she does. What follows is maybe 40 words of dialogue, and it's the best writing of the entire deleted scene. Mai tells him that he finally seems to be enjoying himself, and it lands like an accusation, because he hasn't enjoyed himself in 3 years. He admits that he's missed seeing that side of her, and she points out how much has changed since they were children, and she used to throw mud in his face. Then she puts her hand on his cheek, on the scarred side, and tells him that not everything has changed. And then they kiss on the rooftop in the conquered city, with snow coming down around them, and for about one panel, Zuko is finally happy again, and truly happy. But unfortunately, he still hasn't reckoned with what he did to Iroh, and that is what we're about to see. The next day, down at the harbour, Azula and Ty Lee are watching the two of them from a distance, and Ty Lee is cooing about how the lovebirds are back together and how adorable that they are. Azula says almost nothing because she doesn't have to. The trap closed exactly the way she designed it. Mai asks him directly. She wants to know if he's coming with them, and then she narrows it down and asks if he's coming with her. Zuko tells her he'd like to, and then he starts to say that he isn't sure, and then he never finishes the sentence, because right at that moment, Iroh is marched up the gangplank in chains, flanked by soldiers. He's just an old man in a green prison robe with his hands bound in front of him. Azula watches him go and says, poor uncle, and it's the most enjoyment she gets out of the entire story. Zuko says out loud that he wonders whether his uncle will even survive the trip back home. And that really is the saddest part. He is worried that that man will die in transit. He truly does still care about his uncle, even though with the cognitive dissonance at the start of the comic where he said that he's a traitor and shouldn't be cared about. Azula then tells him it's time to leave and suggests that he say goodbye to his girlfriend, and Zuko tells her no. Then the panel closes in on his face, on the scar, and he says he's coming with her. He's going back to the Fire Nation. Azula doesn't celebrate this. She walks up that gangplank with Ty Lee behind her and tells him to do whatever he wants because it's his decision. But secretly, her plan has just completed. Her plan has just worked. Zuko has just committed to the betrayal of his uncle. He has now officially turned on his uncle and will be apart from him right until the end of the series. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this comic. I love covering these comics, and if you want to see more like this, check the video on screen now for what happened to Azula after the war. Those comics are pretty crazy, and tomorrow I'm going to be releasing what happened to Sokka after the war. So if you made it this far, drop a thank Mr. Zuko, and I'll see you in the next one.